new board member joining us, filling in for Walter, Matt Beat, also known as Mr. Beat, and Roger Scott, our CPA, is also with us today. Thank you guys for joining us. So we were just talking before the show. Roger got hit with a bunch of snow. It wasn't sleet or rain; it was just snow, which is a rarity in North Carolina. So how are you doing down there?
Well, I didn't have a coronary doing all the shoveling for me and for Lorraine across the street. I have an elderly neighbor I do a little for. A lot of us in the neighborhood do for, and this was my role. So I did a lot of shoveling yesterday, but it was light. It was powder, and it was only 6.5 inches, so I survived. And a couple of Advil, good night's sleep. I'm right as rain.
I'm glad we didn't get any more snow here in Virginia because the kids still haven't gone back to school from the last snow. What we got last time was like 5 or 6 inches of snow and then like 4 inches of ice on top of it. So like it's people have been having difficulty getting it plowed and removed from the streets so people's cars can get through and bus stops can get excessive, have access to. So
Yeah,
it's been
and
difficult.
and back back here, we're in a little carve out. We're not actually in the town of Burlington. We're not in the city limits. There's only a dozen houses back here. We're on well and septic systems. We have to pay somebody to do all that stuff. So nobody comes out really to this road and plows. I did see somebody late this afternoon. I don't know who it was. It wasn't a city truck. But the best part about a snowstorm I've discovered, at least a deep one where you can see evidence, is trying to figure out which particular little animal made that trail and which one made those footprints. Because I got trails all over this place that I mean, I know the deer, I know the coyote, but I think a possum left a little trench through the snow in front of the steps. It's crazy.
So, also joining us tonight, our new board member, Matt Beat. Matt, why don't you just, for those who've watched the show, you've seen Mr. Beat before. We've had him on the show, but he is now officially part of the No Cap Fund team. And before we get started tonight, Matt, why don't you just take a second, refresh people who you are, and why'd you decide to join our team?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Matt Beat, but Mr. Beat is what I'm known as on the internet. And I make social studies videos primarily about American political history and government. I used to be a teacher in the classroom, and I always made videos while I was doing that for my kids. And then the videos took off, so now I make videos full time. But now I'm doing other things. Like 2026 has been a crazy year because I decided I wanted to do some more compelling, meaningful activist work. Really, I'm becoming an activist, and I'm documenting the whole thing. And so, yeah, I've got a big project. I'm sure as many of your listeners already know, but I've been writing my congressman every single day to ask him to uncap the House, calling him, and so far I have not got really any, not no substantial response, and he does not support uncapping the House, but he has yet to give me one reason why. And so actually the day is kind of unique that the day we're recording this, February 2nd, is the day I called for a lot of my viewers, especially fellow Kansans, to also reach out to him to say, hey, yo, dude, why are you not getting back to Mr. B? Can you give us one reason why you don't support uncapping the House? Because he hasn't given a reason. So yeah, this I'm excited to work with you all. It's been great so far.
Yeah, and we're thrilled to have you, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that email campaign in our third segment tonight. We're going to cover just a couple of things, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about No Cap Fund. So the first topic that we're going to cover tonight is Texas going blue. The second topic we'll cover is Trump nationalizing the elections, and then in the third segment we'll come back to Matt's email campaign along with other happenings of the No Cap Fund grassroots movement. So I'm sure you guys saw there was a big upset in the Texas state legislature race. Democrat won a previously, I think, plus 17 to Trump district, now won by, I think, like 12 points the other direction. One, does this mean anything to you? And do you think it means anything going forward for Texas, possibly going blue? Matt, I'll start with you.
I think it means a little bit. I think it's a special election, so those are always suspect because the turnout's lower. And a big reason why Republicans are losing so badly right now is not because the Democratic Party is popular. It's just that because the Trump administration is just doing horribly. Independents have completely abandoned the Republican Party because of Trump's policies, and so I think the Democratic Party still has a lot of work to do, and so I'm still a little bit skeptical about Texas turning blue.
Roger.
Okay, now I'm not on mute. I refuse to put a whole lot of faith in the idea of Texas going blue because we've been down this road before. For some of the reasons Matt said, it's a special election, turnout is low. It's an encouraging sign, especially when you stack it on top of the other special elections and the other off-year elections that we've seen this year. Democrats have been, doing very well in these elections. So it's an encouraging sign, but in Texas, there's an entire state government controlled by the GOP that has demonstrated that they will do whatever they have to do to prevent Texas from turning blue. Do not discount the impact of the Texas state government on this.
So what I'll say is it is both something and nothing together. And what I mean by that is that this in the short term is really nothing. It's just another step in the direction of Texas going blue. I wrote about this during the election between Kamala and Trump. There's a lot of, the state has been trending blue for a while. And the thing with something like this is like, they say like empires don't collapse overnight. It's like slow and then all at once. Same thing with Texas going blue. It's very slow. Everybody's going to keep talking about, well, they keep talking about it, but it's not happening. And then one day it's going to happen. And I think this is just another indication that it's going to happen. As Roger mentioned, the state legislature is all about keeping it red. What happens when they start losing state races like this, right? Eventually, they're going to lose control. The rules are going to be rewritten. The Democrats are going to have a better chance. You can multiply this with just a really bad year for the Republicans, which, let's face it, it's coming up, right? Donald Trump has really poisoned the brand. He's split the party, which means the party is probably split in every single state. It's probably split in Texas as well. And as soon as one faction grows big enough to outtake the other faction and it gets about 50-50, that's when the Democrats can swoop in and take the state. And if you look at the population trending from California to Texas, right? In theory, it's people leaving California because they don't like California, but they're still probably left leaning. And that's what you've seen from the move in the population and the way they're voting, right? So it's just a matter of time. And I think this is the biggest thing is it's the money, right? You get a whole bunch of people coming from California with money. They're going to donate to candidates that they prefer. Maybe they don't like the way that things are being done in Texas. If you're working on a state level, a great strategy for the local Democrats is to focus on local issues that matter to new people in the district, right? That's how you gain new voters that are moving in. That's how you get their money to vote for your side of the aisle. And over time, you get elected, you take over the state legislature, you rewrite the rules a little bit to be maybe a little bit more fair to Democrats, and then all of a sudden, you've got the Texas is blue, right? You've got the right candidate running for office at the right time. The president is, making a mess out of things, as is right now. They've ruined the brand. The party's divided. I think it happens. I don't think this really matters. Like this, whether this election went blue or red, it wouldn't really matter to me. I think Texas is going blue in the future at this stage anyways, unless Republicans make one heck of a stand. But I don't see it happening.
Yeah, you kind of swayed me on this, actually. Yeah. Do you think it will be as early as 2028 or?
I mean, I think that's like, it could be like,
Wow.
It's slow and all at once, right? I would say like, if I had to put money on it, I put it for the next presidential election.
Yeah.
Right. That it would put, 6 years out roughly. But with the way things are going with the Republicans and Trump, and who knows going to be the next, and you see that split in the Republican Party. Look at Vance. You got the Vance wing, and then you've got the Reagan caucus wing, the Reaganite wing, Don Bankin, like the traditional Republicans, they still exist. And Vance is not going to be able to hold power like Trump held power. This is not going to happen. He's got a lot of money, and that money is tied to somebody who is repeatedly mentioned in the Epstein files. Okay. And we're talking about Peter Thiel here. Right. And so Vance has trouble. All right. Like he's got issues. The Republicans, for all of the morality that they've stood on for the last 10 years, pointing fingers at Bill Clinton for his escapades and then pointing fingers at Democrats for the Epstein files over and over and over again. Like, look at your closet and realize that a lot of your people are in those files too. And, again, this is just another reason that the party will be split, right? There are going to be people on one side of the Republican aisle, people on the other. I think could very well happen in 2028. And that means that Texas has a chance of going blue.
Yeah, I just will say two things. Like, we haven't mentioned yet the Latino Hispanic vote in Texas, which swayed in the direction of Trump in 2024. Well, he's lost that support apparently, and so that's gone. So yeah, that's I think the highest growing population ethnic wise in Texas is Hispanic and Latino population. So that combined with, if the Democratic Party finally figures out a candidate who actually can inspire people again, they haven't really had an inspirational candidate since Barack Obama. So if they get somebody like Obama, but somebody who's, actually a bit more progressive on things than Obama was, I think, I could definitely see Texas swinging blue in 2028.
Well, what do you make of Tallarico's chances then in this election?
Man, I love that dude. You know what though? Jasmine Crockett's pretty strong too. It's interesting. Did you watch that debate between those two?
Yeah.
I caught a couple clips, but I think that's the future of the Democratic Party in a nutshell. What's going on in Texas? They're trying to figure. I think the entire national Democratic Party is like, however it goes in Texas is maybe their strategy for nationwide in 2028.
You're on mute, Jeff.
All right. So, I'll have to look into that race a little bit more. That sounds interesting. What I'll say, though, is I don't necessarily know if they need to go more progressive. I think you're more successful, especially if you want to win a presidential election, of going a little bit more moderate, if the Republican Party breaks, right? Because if the Republican Party breaks, you can pull your progressives to the middle a little bit. The moderates can pull the moderate Republicans who don't want to go with Vance. Like, let's say Vance is the party. This is the mistake that they made with Trump, is like they didn't want to pull the moderates together. That's what Biden did, and Biden won. But Clinton and Harris didn't pull the moderates together. And so, like, if you want to win, I think you've got to pick I don't think more progressive is the answer. I think ultimately what people want is reform. I don't really care if you're progressive, conservative, or whatever. If you are a presidential candidate, you need to be running on reform. Okay, it doesn't matter if you.
That's what I meant. Yeah, because progressive is kind of a tainted label, isn't it? Like,
it is.
Think of socialist or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Tallarico's got a much better chance of beating Cornyn than Crockett does. I like Crockett. She's a talented politician, but she's a black woman running for Senate in Texas, and I think that's a thing. And Tallarico, in addition to being a white man, he's also like a seminary student, right? So he's got the Presbyterian, the church vote. Shouldn't say he's got the church vote, but he has, he appeals to that side as well. So I think Colin Allred stepped aside at one point. He was going to be challenging for the Democratic nomination for Senate after, he didn't win the last one. And he stepped aside, and then Crockett jumped in, which I thought was odd, but they're making an entertaining race out of it. So let it play out.
And both are reform-minded, I think, especially.
Yes.
How do you say his last name? Tallarico.
He's got a lot of great lines. He says we're focused on the wrong 1%. He talks about the trans are 1% of the population. This
Yeah.
is 1% of the population. That all these things that the current federal government's trying to demonize are 1%. We're focused on the wrong 1%. 1% of the population or less than 1% are billionaires. That's who we need to focus on. That's the danger.
Class
So he's got a lot of great.
versus cultural.
He's a talented campaigner.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's long overdue. We live in populist times, and whoever talks about the working class and revolves their rhetoric around that, I think will have success.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out. Speaking of working class, so we've had Kyle Sweetser on the show before, who's a Democrat, a new Democrat running as a Republican in Alabama. I believe he did make the Democratic nomination. And what I'll say is, like, I've talked with him on and off the show before. He's a real nice guy. He understands his state. He's taking the time to really learn it, learn the issues that really matter to the people of Alabama. And I think it's just what you said is like what people are looking for is people that actually look and sound and can relate with them, right? Because I tell my kids all the time, like, if you want to do something, you want to be something that you're not right now, you want to be an actor, you want to be a football player, you want to be anything in the world, you got to understand how they talk. You got to learn about them. You got to read about them. You got to study them. You understand the terminology that they use so you can fit into their group and know their stories and communicate with them. Well, the same thing is true for like politicians and voters, right? And I think for too long, people feel very disconnected from the people leading them. They don't speak the same language, right? And, somebody like Kyle speaks the right language, right? He understands people. He is one of those people. And so, like, again, I don't care if you're red or you're blue.
He's no
you
Tommy
need to
Tuberville.
you got to get out there. But that's the thing is, like, how many I don't even know. What do you say? Alabamians? Okay.
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Can relate with a college football superstar coach, okay? Versus how many can relate with a small business owner of, I believe, an HVAC company, living in the state who feels unheard and unrepresented and, kind of pushed out of his own party, right? Like, I bet you that one way more than the other one, right? And then, talk about California going blue and the fact that Democratic Party is focused in on California. And this is the problem that Democrats make. Go focus on Alabama. Throw some money in there, right? A little bit. If you get the right candidate, if they're speaking the right language, if they're talking to the right people, if you have the right message, you can do this stuff. I think a lot of times the parties just throw money at what looks sexy and they're not really thinking about what matters to people. And, that's what you're talking about with the guy from Texas, right? He speaks the right language. He understands the time, the moment. This is a populist moment. Working class people feel left out. They need to be heard. They need them to be talked to. And this is just an opportunity again. So just a little shout out to Kyle out there if he happens to be watching or whatever. I know that he supports uncapping the House. So obviously it would be in our benefit if he won his race.
Heck yeah.
Do we have any idea? I was reading some of his website, so I missed some of what was said. Do we have any idea what his chances are? What the lay of the land is down there in Alabama?
I don't right now. I think he's going to be at Principals first, so we can chat with him when he's there. And I've been meeting to just check in on him and see how he's doing down there. Maybe we can have him back on the show. But yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the Pirate Party, which is a third party that's been in touch with me over the years, ever since they discovered my channel. They are about to endorse uncapping the House. They're this close, I've been told. So,
I love it.
Have you heard of the Pirate Party?
I have not, but I love just the name. I'm sold. I'm gonna go.
Arrgh.
Yeah. I want to act like a pirate.
We have pirates here in North Carolina, the East Carolina University Pirates, and that's at the football stadium. Arrgh, and all that. Yeah, we do all that peg leg stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on, because if Texas goes blue, I definitely think Donald Trump is really going to want to move to his next idea, which is apparently nationalizing the elections. So today on the Dan Bongino show, he basically said that, Republicans need to take control. And he mentioned nationalizing the elections. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that? I know what you think of that, but I'm going to ask you, what do you think of that? And, like, do you think it's possible? Do you think Republicans are going to back this, or this is one of those crazy things that Trump says that, he'll take back and pretend like he never said, or somehow they'll say that he didn't say what he really said because he doesn't want to lose face of like being wrong about something or not getting what he wants. And he may come back to it later if he actually gets the numbers in his favor. But what do you guys think?
It's hilarious and hypocritical all at the same time. I mean, these cats are constantly bitching that, the feds can't do anything right. They don't want to return everything to the states. Trust the people. Except with the one area that could check their power. We can't trust anybody with the vote. We got to control the vote. Bullshit. Not going to happen. It would require a constitutional amendment. That's not going to happen. Let me tell you what ought to happen. There's 3,006 counties in the U.S., so there's that many boards of elections. There's over 10,000 taxing jurisdictions all hitting you for sales tax in this country. Why don't we nationalize the sales tax first? That would be a hell of a lot more beneficial to the economy. Let's see how they handle that before we start talking about nationalizing elections.
Could you imagine?
Rant over.
Yeah. Obviously this is unconstitutional. It's frankly just really distasteful for him. I mean, he says something like this every other day. Is something just ridiculous because he doesn't understand the Constitution. So, he just, whatever idea pops in his head, maybe Stephen Miller whispers something in his ear and he's like, oh yeah. Like Roger said, you need a constitutional amendment. Ain't going to happen. Elections in this country are strong because they are not top down. They're bottom up. They're localized. That's what gives me faith in the system. Like those election deniers in 2020, I kept saying, hey, voter fraud is real, but make sure this happens at the precinct. This happens at the local level. So you need to get involved with your local county board, election board. You need to be a poll worker. That's where the stuff happens. If you're going to DC, they don't know what's going on. They're just waiting for the votes, electoral votes to come in. And so that's the way it was designed on purpose. And I think that it's just ludicrous to think that they would want to nationalize. I mean, yeah, and of course that would be the Republican Party that would be the ones in charge of doing that. They've already purged voter rolls across the country. They're already stealing voter information. They've already got it from most states. That's why a lot of people are frankly worried about the midterm elections, about is this going to be free and fair? I don't know. I think.
So, okay. So I have like a thing here I want to try to go through to try to like make sense of this. So I think this was inevitable that we were going to get to this point. As I said before, it doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump or the next guy. I think it was inevitable that some party would try to take control of the system. Okay. And here's why. Because the representation is distorted, and the representation is distorted because of immigration. All right. Now, pre-Civil War, the representation was distorted because of slavery, right? Whenever you have people in a country and they are not given their rights of representation of the vote, then that means that their power is then concentrated somewhere else. Okay? And that skews the system, and it incentivizes a political party or group or small groups to use that for political gain. So for example, during the Civil War, you had in the South, you had the low country and the up country. Okay. In the low country, that's where your wealthy planters were. It's where heavily concentrated slaves were. Okay. In your low or your up country, that's where you had your just average person. Okay. Didn't have a lot of slaves there. Well, where do you think all the representation was? Was it with the regular people, or was it with the few slave owners who had all of the wealth and all of the power because they had somebody else's representation? All right. So you have distorted representation. If I can, let me pull something up for you so I can show you what it looks like. I can explain. All right, so let me get back here, and I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay. So you see this circle?
Yes.
All right. It's green circle. All right. And the green represents the population of a district. Okay. The yellow represents either slaves or immigrants, those who are unrepresented in the system. Okay. So now you have all of this power, and it's now not full. Okay. Now this party or this party can gain more than 50% of the power. Okay. So they can take control of the system, and then they can keep control of the system because they have this power on their side. Okay. Now, the slaveholders were able to do this having slaves. Right now, and this is the argument from the right and Trump, is that because of illegal immigration, the Democrats have rigged the system and we can't win. And once you have a group in politics saying we can't win, all bets are off. Anything that they do is now justified in their minds because the other side already rigged it against us. So we're just defending ourselves. Okay. So think about this in terms pre-Civil War. You look at the nullification crisis. You look at the fire eaters in the South, right? They believed that they were going to lose the battle, and they were trying to do whatever they could to keep power using the representative advantage that they had. And then when they realized that they lost power, they were out. Like, they were out of the Union. That was their last straw. It was they were basically declaring war by going out of the Union, and some other things. Okay, so because power is centralized, it allows for a party to take control. Remember, and I didn't pull that Madison quote up beforehand, but remember, he warns against the number of representatives must be raised to avoid the cabal of a few. Okay, and what he means is when power is not dispersed widely enough to the population, it allows a small group to take control, plain and simple. And so when you have distorted representation because you haven't dispersed representation appropriately throughout the entire population, you have the potential for a small group to take control. And so what we see with immigration is a fight over power, plain and simple. In MAGA's eyes, the Democrats have sanctuary cities so they can get more power. And I'll pull this up as well. Let me read this to you. This is from the Center for Immigration Studies, okay? And I'm going to read you a couple sections of this. This is reducing the representation of citizens. For the purposes of this study, it is enough to note that the redistribution of political influence away from American citizens is significant between states. Consider the case of Ohio, which has a relatively large population but relatively few immigrants. In 2020, the state had 2 fewer seats due to immigration. In that same year, 97% of the residents were U.S. citizens. In contrast, California, which had 8 more seats than it otherwise would have due to the presence of immigrants, only 87% of the state's population were American citizens. Non-citizens cannot vote in federal elections, serve on juries, or work for the federal government in most areas. Many non-citizens, including foreign students, guest workers, illegal immigrants, may not make campaign contributions. Thus, it is seen that it's odd that they are represented in Congress. All right, so let me go to the conclusion here. Paragraph 3. It is important then, when making decisions regarding immigration policy, to take into account not only the economic, fiscal, cultural, and demographic impacts on immigration, but also the political impact, part of which is realignment of power in Congress away from states receiving relatively few immigrants. This redistribution exists regardless of whether how immigrants themselves vote and will continue to increase if immigration continues at its current rapid pace. In addition to this realignment, careful consideration should also be given to the loss of representatives suffered by citizens in low immigration states, so states with large non-citizen populations can have more political representation. The impact of immigration on redistribution is primarily due to the legal immigration, not illegal immigration. For example, in 2020, foreign-born residents in the United States redistribute 17 seats in the House of Representatives, while illegal immigration alone redistributed 2 seats. All right. What this means is immigration creates a representation problem because they don't have the right to vote. It allows, because we don't have proper reform, we don't have proper set of rules, because we fought over this for the last 30 years, states have both in regards of bringing in more immigrants and getting rid of immigrants, challenged the federal government, okay? Which means you have a state versus federal issue. Now, having said all this, I don't think civil war is in the scope, right? It's not going to be the same thing, right? But what you have is you have a political party, a group inside of a political party who believe that the system is rigged against them, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to win, plain and simple. And they see a possibility of gaining control because the system is too small. There's not enough seats in the House of Representatives. It's easier to gain a cabal of the few, which is why, you know, what is a Republican? A Republican believes in divided and separated power that is then vested in representation. Plain and simple. That's what a Republican is. That was our government when we formed it. That's what everybody was. Everybody was a Republican. If we uncap the House, we extend the power out. We make it harder for one small faction to gain control, and we then have to write immigration reform, like real immigration reform. Like uncapping the House, like Walter says a lot, releases the pressure, right? It expands that power. It makes it harder for that faction who's at war to win. It just makes it harder. And it makes it harder for them to justify that the other side is fighting a war with them, because now their battle is now dispersed to a larger group of people. And therefore, it's not as important anymore. All right. I know that was a long diatribe. Go ahead.
And while you were speaking, I had another thought sort of related to Texas. There's been a lot of chatter recently about, why is ICE in Minnesota when there's so many, the number of immigrants, illegal, undocumented and otherwise, in Florida and Texas is so much larger. If there's a chance Texas is going to go blue, and it's because of immigrants, documented or not, as Jeff was just going through here, what are the chances Trump's going to send ICE en masse down to Texas between now and the midterms, again, to further his goal of Texas not, I don't know that's explicitly his goal, but to prevent Texas from going blue, like he doesn't want any place to go blue.
Well, and that's why my point is uncapping the House is the best way to stop this fight, to siphon Trump's power away, because his argument goes away if you uncap.
Yeah, all but president's power, siphon it all away.
Right, yeah. but if it I'll go back to the no kings protest. Like, this is how you defeat kings. Okay, you take their power and you give them to people. It's called representation. We are representative government. That's how you deflate their power. Okay, like, it's the most basic, simple answer. It's just math. Like, it's just math, right? Like, those numbers that I just read will be significantly reduced. The percentage of them will be significantly reduced if we expand the House of Representatives. We're talking about average, everyday American citizens losing representation out of their state because of not just illegal immigration, but legal immigration. Okay, we need to rectify this. Okay, it doesn't mean that this doesn't mean that you're anti-immigrant or pro-immigrant. It means that you want to write rules that we all agree on that doesn't take away our power that we're supposed to have, plain and simple. Because, and this is back to my point of why it's very similar to the Civil War. I can't remember. I think it's Hilton Helper. He wrote a book, The Impending Crisis of the South, I believe. He was not for like black equality, but he was against slavery. And he was against slavery because it hurt average white farmers in the South. It was economic more than anything else, and the power distribution, right? They were unrepresented because the slaveholders had all the power, right? This is the same thing, man. Average everyday Americans, the reason that Trump pulls red-blooded, blue-collar Americans to his side is because they feel like they don't have any representation. And he's pointing a finger at a group or groups and saying they're at fault. And he gives them a somewhat rational thought process in their head because everybody's scared of what they don't understand, right? And if you only believe what you're told, if you watch Fox News and what you told when you listen to him, you might be afraid too, and it might sound not so crazy, right? And especially if you don't understand political theory and the rules of the government. Like, the Constitution says you can't nationalize the elections because we have this divided and separated system. Like, if you know these things, then it's not a big deal. But most people don't. I didn't know a lot of these things, right? Like, I look at myself and I go, I could have very easily become a big Trump guy. Like, that could have been me if I would have kept on probably the path that I was on, right? But I started reading and studying because the guy kind of creeped me out. So I was like, this guy can't be the right guy.
Yeah. I will say it is a bit of a myth that immigrants only would vote for Democrats. I got to just put that out there because there are some studies that show that actually immigrants tend to be more socially conservative on a lot of issues. And so like there's nuance to that. I think the main thing is, yeah, you're right, Jeff, that it would like we have too much on one side, it seems like we have like, oh yeah, just amnesty for all of them. And then on the other side, we have kick them all out. We had some compromise going on in the year of our Lord, 2007, if you recall. And it was a really good moment. And we were about to have true reforms on immigration. Like, it was actually a good compromise between those two extremes. But guess what? The filibuster stopped it. The freaking filibuster, and that's another representation problem, but that's the Senate. If we can't do anything with the Senate, then yeah, we'll focus on the House. But the fact of the matter is,
we got to do the House first.
Yeah, uncapping the House will just inevitably lead to more coalition building and compromise and moderation and pragmatism.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways, like I said, it's about power distribution, and one group feels like another group has taken advantage of the system and they're willing to go all out to win it, and they've elected a guy who will do anything to do that. And I think that's the problem is like,
yeah, gotta handle that first.
And I think like the best way to handle it is uncapping the House. Like, it's just you release the pressure, as Walter says. It's got to be done. I know it's complicated to explain to people that it's basic power dynamics and numbers, and like, if people don't want to hear that, they want to hear my side's right, and it's
blame
like
them.
They want that's what they want to hear. Like, you sit down, if you're not talking again, if you're not speaking their language is anti-Donald Trump, or their language is anti-woke or anti-rhino. Like, their language is, that's what their language is. And and that's why we got to create our own language at No Cap. We got to create.
What we have to tell them is, look, man, if we do this, we're going to elect, if you're talking to Democrats, we're going to elect more Democrats. And you're probably right. More Democrats will be elected. If you're talking to Republicans, you say, we're going to elect more Republicans. And you're probably right. We'll elect more Republicans. If you're talking to neither side, we're going to elect more people who don't align with either of those parties. Maybe they're libertarian, maybe they're independent, maybe they're Angus King or Bernie or whatever. But whatever group you're talking to, tell them, we do this thing so we get more of your people in. And you're not really lying, because it's probably true.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We'll just have to say that 435 reps is woke, and then that will work, right? Because woke is still bad, I think. Yeah.
It's like reverse psychology with your teenagers.
Yeah. Well, it's like the meme said, let's tell Trump the Epstein files are in Greenland and he'll leave it alone forever.
Mm.
But yeah,
All
I mean,
right.
if Texas does go blue, hey, if Texas goes blue, that means that you're going to have the Democratic Party with a pretty big majorities.
Yeah.
That's when you have to uncap the House because that's a. And so I feel like
Yeah, but
who,
that's
who
like
are we trying to persuade right now? I think we're mostly trying to persuade Democrats because it's kind of a lost cause with a lot of Republicans. I hate to use that phrase, lost cause, but we know that the midterms are going to go blue, and unless there are shenanigans. So if it's going to go blue, then yeah, let's start because you have to. None of this like we have to take extreme action once we have a majorities, like especially with the Senate. When you have 60 senators, I'm not saying there's going to be 60 senators after this midterms, but maybe maybe 2028, there'll be 60 senators. And then boom, you're going to have to knock out not just uncapping the House. That will be the first reform, but you're going to have to do a bunch of other stuff too. And in a very short, I mean, why not expand the number of Supreme Court justices, proportional representation? You just go
Voting Rights Act.
make Election Day a
Omnibus
holiday.
Voting
Just
Rights Act.
Puerto Rico is a state. Just go, go, go. It has
ERA.
to be all in 1 year because that window is so small. 2007 was a window that was a blown opportunity. 2009, another window, blown opportunity. So yeah.
yeah, but you know why? You know why they're blown opportunities is they don't typically reach far enough across the aisle. And you have if you're and
Yeah.
here's the other thing is you've got to if what you're saying happens, the only way what you're saying happens is not if Democrats win the majorities, but if people vote in enough Democratic reformers into that group to make it happen, right? Like you've
And
got to
get
have
some Republicans on board too.
well, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, and you're going to have to get some Republicans on board. You're going to,
Yeah.
if you're going to do the type of things that you just talked about, even if you have the majorities, like you're going to have Republican support. Otherwise, you're going to have like you're going to lose Democrats because they're going to be afraid of losing their job or possible civil unrest, because you're talking about doing major things to the Constitution and all these other, big, bringing Puerto Rico, which, there's a group that doesn't want a group of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico who do not want Puerto Rico to be a state, right? So like you're talking about something that affects people in a different state. Like you're going to need to build consensus and coalitions no matter if you have majorities or not. That's why we have a representative system. Like it's to incentivize coalition building and bringing the everybody together, pulling the extremes to the center and getting the moderates to like maybe push themselves out a little bit. The moderates typically got to push away from the center, and you got to pull the extremes in. And now you're in like a little circle here, as opposed to out here, or
like
one
that.
over here and one over here, right? You got to pull everybody together.
Well, you got to marginalize the extremists. You're not going to be able to pull everybody together. You just got to marginalize the extremists again. That's part of the problem we have with the House being capped.
You gotta pull enough of the people together. You got to go for, and we've been talking a lot about the Civil War, and one of the guys who's biggest agitator for this has something called the concurrent majority, is how he describes the system, and that's what we need. We need a concurrent majority to be able to do some of the big things. And it doesn't matter if they're Republicans or Democrats. It doesn't matter if you have the majority or not. It's going to require a small group of reformers inside of that group to make it happen.
Well, and that's interesting. Since I've fallen in with this crowd, a bunch of bad examples lead me astray. I started listening to podcasts, other people's podcasts besides ours. And I was listening to Pod Save America this weekend. The cat they had on, the guest, I don't recall his name, but the title of the show was "Why Are Democrats Afraid of Power or Don't Know How to Use Power?" Something like that. And he made what I felt was an interesting observation. He drew a contrast between Trump and what he's doing, trying to do, and the speed, the recklessness, all that, and FDR, right? And he talks about how FDR was successful in doing what he did because he didn't have all the impediments in place that we have built since then, right? He was able to do this quickly. And also he did it when he set these things up, he set them up with a short time frame. Some of these things, some of these alphabet soup agencies were only a few months, several months long. Others went longer than that. But he was very successful in getting this stuff done because he did not have, it didn't take as long. He was able to move more quickly and to be more dynamic. And we've built all this stuff that prevents others from being as bold and successful until you get somebody like Trump who's willing to burn it all down, right? And in a weird kind of way, maybe he's doing us a favor, burn it all down and start over so that we can get stuff done again.
I agree.
Anyway, it was a lot to think about. I found it to be a very interesting episode of Pod Save America.
Well, FDR also had a huge force behind him in what we call the American public. He won a huge majority of voters. Plus, this was right after the last time the House was capped, like the
Yes.
1929. So we're talking like less than a third of the current population. So yeah, representation has gone way out of whack since then, which is a big reason why the polarization dramatically skyrocketed in the latter part of the 20th century.
And the corruption.
Yeah. Reminds me of the Gilded Age, what's going on now. I just released a video about that.
History rhyming.
Yep.
Yeah, write
yep.
some rhymes for us, Mr. Pete. We got to hear some more original music. That's it.
Yeah. I'm recording. I got my keyboard right here. Oh, you can't see it in the split screen. I was recording a song yesterday.
I see some tuning machines in the background behind your head when you move, though. So I believe you.
Yeah. So I think that is a good transition to our next segment, which is just updates from the No Cap journey.
But before we do that, can we have one? Can I throw out one more quick discussion point?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This movie, Melania, right? The documentary, the big deal, it's in the news a lot. I saw a piece. I forget what it was. Just in the Apple news feed, some published piece about who exactly paid the $7 million that the movie was able to draw in its first weekend. And I didn't read the whole article. I don't know how they did their analysis, but they said that they were white women over 70, and they were in a smattering of cities in the South: Dallas, Phoenix, Tampa, and a few other places they mentioned. But I found that interesting that is the core demographic that's going to see this movie that is being widely panned, I hear.
People who are going to be dead soon. Okay. Watching this movie.
Okay. And whose husbands will be dead sooner if they're not already, because men die earlier on average. Okay, move on to Jeff's update. I just wanted to throw that out because I found that humorous when I read it.
All right. I won't tell you what I did this weekend. No, I'm kidding. All right. So updates from the Journey for Reform. So Matt is a new board member. We mentioned that before, and he is helping us out with a few things. Number one, he's got this great email campaign going that he mentioned at the top of the show, trying to get his representative to comment on why he doesn't support uncapping the House. He's put out some great videos on that. You know, Matt, I don't know what you did today, but you got 14 people to sign our declaration today. And that is just fantastic. I love it. I love being able to have an announcement like that to share with our fans. And you're also working on a video for us, a No Cap video. So like we've got a lot of exciting things going on. Why don't you take a minute and talk about, your video that you're making and your email campaign. I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but go ahead and, just share with the people, because our fans out there, we need to build a grassroots. This is the type of stuff that you can do, right? Maybe you don't record yourself and post every day on Twitter, but you can still do the things that Matt's doing. So Matt, tell your story a little bit.
I'm just trying to create some momentum for this cause and attention economy that we live in. You have to get attention somehow. And so this is somewhat of a publicity stunt, which is literally contacting my member of Congress every single day, my representative. And I predicted this would happen. I predicted that he would just ignore me. And of course, I mean, he's doing everything I want right now, and he's going to continue to probably ignore me. And so, yeah, that kind of like proves my point that there's just not enough representatives. He's got 640,000 people to take care of, and it seems like a few of those those constituents are a little bit more important because they have money to give him to help him get reelected in November. So yeah, like I think people are understanding that, oh, he's doing what you want him to do. And I've inspired some folks to write their own representatives. But today was unique because I had people, even people that lived outside my district, contacting my representative just to get his attention. We'll see if it works. I know that at least probably a couple hundred, if not more, people either called his office today or emailed. And I know this because I already have like 50 people that have reached out to me and said they did so, and even some got responses already. When I say responses, though, I got to say this again. It's not it's just a canned response, a copy paste template response, probably AI generated. So it's not really a response. It's the same response I got 3 weeks ago. But yeah, I'm getting some publicity for it. There was a shout out to Jesse Dollamore who covered it, had me on to interview, and hopefully we'll get some more momentum, man. I got other plans. I'm not going to reveal them yet, but I got big plans for 2026 to try to raise awareness about uncapping the House.
Yeah, we're excited. A couple other things, we're starting grassroots chapters. Walter and I have ours planned. Roger, I know, is going to start one sooner than later. I know we talked about it. I've also signed up 3 recent volunteers who are going to start a grassroots chapter. I had a meeting this morning with one of them. So we're going to have a chapter out in Oregon. We're going to have a chapter in Michigan, and potentially Alabama and New Jersey as well. And so the goal here is these chapters are going to be representatives, right? The chapter leaders are representatives. The goal would be to have 2 per district, okay? Because we want to reach enough people. There's a lot of people per district. We need to be able to get at least 2 per district, set them up, and have regular meetings. So I built an agenda for the team that are going to be, holding the meetings to try to like help them, because it's not an easy thing to hold meetings like this. I've practiced over the last few years. There's lots of difficulties. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? How are you going to invite people? Where are you going to have it? When are you going to have it? How many times should you have it? So like the basic gist is, it's a once a month meeting. I've got a very simple agenda that helps you explain what representation is, why it matters, and what the people there can do to help raise awareness for uncapping the House. And then it's just having a casual conversation about politics. If there's one thing I've learned over the last 4 years is that people absolutely feel unrepresented. They want to talk about politics, but they are tired of having to scream about politics. They want somewhere quiet and comfortable that they can have a conversation about serious problems that we have, and they don't want their feelings hurt. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They just want to talk and just have you hear them out. And, we want to be able to provide that for people. And so I'll be having monthly meetings with the representatives to try to talk about what's going on in the ground, help them formulate the plan, raising awareness, getting people out. And then like we have a concrete plan for 2026. As we mentioned, our job this year is sparking conversation about uncapping the House across 4 spheres: citizens, donors, policymakers, and media. Our goal is to build a grassroots movement and donor pipeline and voting base that supports uncapping the House. Our end of the year goal this year is to insert uncapping the House into the 2026 midterms, and I 100% believe that these are obtainable goals that we can achieve this year. If we do our jobs right, if we follow through on our plans, if we continue to raise awareness and publicity stunts and videos and behind the scenes work, we can build an organization that will make this happen. And I believe that we're off to a great start. One of the volunteers that's came out also gave me some tips on how to make our website more visible. He's like techie. So he's like helping me with the SEO stuff, because it's, like we're all volunteers. We're trying to do something that requires you to do everything, and you can't know everything. So it's great that we have volunteers that are stepping up, that are helping us, fine tune this machine that we're building. And you know, I just want to say thank you to Matt, because Matt's been a just like a big spark this year, coming on board and helping out. It's always nice. You know, it's been me, Roger, and Walter, and we've been doing the best we can. But having Matt come aboard and kind of spark interest, spark awareness, it's been really great. So I just want to shout out and say thank you to Matt for all the hard work so far this year.
Thank you. You guys are doing great.
I appreciate it. And one of the
I
other
was
things
already I was a micro celebrity, so I had a little help. Yeah.
micro celebrity. You know what? We're gonna make you a macro celebrity. Okay, we're gonna make you a
boy,
macro
I don't know if I
celebrity.
can handle that. Yeah.
Yeah, because uncapping the house is going to be a topic this year, so you're gonna have to go on the news and talk about it.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Maybe
Yes.
maybe we need to return to the idea of writing a musical for Washington.
Oh, here we go.
Oh
again.
yes,
Not
yes.
this again.
No, okay. I'm telling you, Matt. I 100%. It's not Washington. I want to do Madison.
Madison.
I want to do Madison.
Madison.
Okay.
Okay.
And because I think that's the natural, like, you know,
Yeah.
the natural next step to Hamilton.
The
Okay. And
natural
I
foil for
right.
Hamilton.
And
yeah.
so here's what I want to say to you, Matt. I'm a goal setter. Okay. I need goals to be successful. All right. Our goals this year are obtainable. Me, you, Walter, Roger, Thomas, who also joined, we're going to hit these goals this year. All right. And which means we're going to have money for the organization. We're going to have this talked about on the national stage by the end of this year. All right. That means between 2026 and 2030, we have to uncap the house. Me and you, after we get a little bit of money, and we'll make this our job, right? Me and you, I'll fly out to Kansas if I have to. We'll sit down in like a weekend. All right. We will knock out a musical, and I will sell it to somebody, and we'll use the money to uncap the house. Right? Like we'll do whatever we got to do. People will
Got
like
it all
it.
planned out. I like it. Sounds great
Yep.
to me.
Well, that
All right.
sounds more realistic than the original plan was to somehow get Lin-Manuel Miranda to help us write it. I don't think
that
that's
would
going to
be-
happen.
That would be less.
Yeah,
work
I
for
can
me
write
if he
better
did it.
songs than that dude. He writes mediocre slop. No, I can.
Wow. Shots fired. You
Well,
guys are going
I
to
mean,
end
it's
up in
gonna
a
be-
duel like Hamilton.
But it's going to be a musical about the foil to Hamilton, so we shouldn't have the same sort of lyricist, that sort of same structure and mentality in the lyrics.
No, this would be more
we did
indie pop.
we would
I
definitely not
love
want the same
that
guy who did
idea.
Hamilton. So
Madison would definitely listen to indie pop. Like
Yeah,
he's
he's-
short. He's
We're not gonna
like
be rapping.
He's definitely I'm on board with this, Matt. I love
Green
that
Day,
too.
Billy
Like,
Joe Armstrong. That's the dude.
Oh, Green Day's
Short
playing the
too.
halftime show, the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's
I heard
along with
this, heard
Bad
that.
Bunny.
Yeah.
But he'd be good to write a song for Madison. He's a short, angry guy.
all right, so we have 2026 goals. We got 2027 goals. 2030. We're gonna run this up till we uncap it before 2030. That's our goal, right? That's what, when you start to hear back from your representatives, that's what you're telling them. You're saying, hey, we have this problem. The next census is in 2030. You can either focus on the immigration problem and have this continue to be a dividing factor in our country, and you can have the right and the left, or the far right and the far left, arguing over how should citizens be counted for apportionment, because remember, it was a Supreme Court question. The court kicked it back for further proceedings. Okay, this can come up again. You can have the enforcement continue, the continue fight over immigration, or you can focus on uncapping the house. You can release the pressure, and then with the new blood, with all the reformers in, you can actually write serious immigration reform.
Bring back the great compromisers of the early 1800s, like Daniel Webster and Henry Clay, and even John Calhoun. They all compromised back then. And then representation got out of whack by the 1850s, and then, the little Civil War happened.
The little Civil War.
I think
So-
you mean the War of Northern Aggression. That's what we called it in the South when I was growing up.
Oh,
Either
boy.
that or the recent unpleasantness was another name it went by. My grandmother used to call it the recent unpleasantness.
Wow.
Ooh.
So another update is we're going to be at Principals First. I think I mentioned that earlier on the show. we're getting all ready for it. Walter, Roger, and myself are going to be at Principals First. So if you're going to be there, come check us out. Gonna have a little swag to give away. I've got some Y435 t-shirts that I'll be bringing, donating from my company, along with some no cap shirts. And I also created this Madison logo. I haven't decided exactly how it's going to be printed yet, but it's a little Madison logo with a quote, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. Because reality is if people want to be able to self-govern, they got to step up and do it. And that's what we're trying to build here, is a place that people can govern themselves again. Because as we've mentioned, people don't feel represented. They don't feel like they have power. And so we're trying to give them a little bit of that.
Well, and we're trying to increase competition. I mean, every red-blooded American knows that more competition yields better results, and that's true if you're consuming government services as well. So we don't use that word anymore, so I'll say the Reapportionment Act of 1929 is an artificial barrier to entry for lots of people who otherwise will never get a shot.
Absolutely. Cannot have said it better myself. We need more competition. We'll get better results.
Oligarchs don't like that kind of talk.
And people that already have power don't like that kind of talk. So yeah, that's the uphill battle. I think we're not going to convince a lot of politicians. We're going to probably have to first convince a lot of ordinary people.
Absolutely.
Here's my deal. There is a group in Congress right now that will support this deal if we can reach them and do our job, explain it to them. And I'll tell you who those people are. They're the younger Congress people. They're the people that have been retiring because they've gone into the system thinking they could do something good, and they realize they can't. And so they're retiring. There's another group of them that are fresh, and they will probably get burnt out and retire in a few years if they can't figure out how they do something. Like, Jared Golden was one of those people, right? He's leaving because it doesn't feel like the system works. He's got some, safety issues, and he's leaving. There's more people like that in Congress. If we can build an organization to support them, we can give them cover, to come out and be a little bit more aggressive with reform, uncapping the House, and stuff like that. Because right now they're forced to talk about what's in the news, right? And if we can put this in the news, they'll be able to talk about what they want to talk about, which is reform. I think you've interviewed Ro Khanna. Have you interviewed Ro Khanna, Matt?
Yeah.
He's a big reform guy, right? This is something that Ro Khanna, I see Ro Khanna as the type of guy who wants to be president someday. Can he be president? Does he meet the requirements?
He does, yeah.
All right. So he seems like the type of guy that wants to be president someday. This is the type of issue, or maybe Speaker of the House, right? This is the type of issue you take up, you champion. You've got a voice in Congress. He's probably learned already that the system is broken. He may not understand exactly why it's broken the way that it is. He has his ideas. He sees the bad, corrupt faction that's taken control, that manipulates the game, right? But he may not know that expanding it out, using that as a platform to build a bigger political career for yourself is beneficial for everybody, right? And so, someday a smart politician will figure this out. I tried my darndest to write during the election about Nikki Haley along with this, because I just, if somebody's going to beat Trump in the Republican primary, they're going to need an idea like this, something that undercuts his argument. His argument, the system's rigged. She comes out with, yes, it is. This is actually how you solve it. All he's trying to do is make us fight against each other, right? All he cares about is his power. This is giving you power. So I'm proving to you, right? So Nikki Haley wasn't that person. She didn't want to do it, at least in that election. She probably never heard it, right? Because my voice isn't that loud. But Ro Khanna, Josh Shapiro, somebody on the Democratic side that wants to elevate to the next level. I can tell you who's not going to do it. Gavin Newsom. He's never going to do it.
He'll follow the wind wherever the wind's blowing already.
Yes, but somebody else is going to have to do this. He's not going to lead on this. He's going to follow the wind. Exactly. And so I think
on his charisma to gather more support. Yeah.
Yep.
Were you saying something, Roger? Sorry.
I thought.
No, I was not. I was agreeing. I was just
Oh,
silently shaking, nodding my head, pulling on my beard.
All right. Well, that's it for my updates. I think I covered everything. I hope I covered everything. Last words. Roger, you want to go first?
Blast.
Oh,
I'm
I'll
sorry,
go first. I go first. I just, if you want to follow me on social media, because every single day I'm posting my letter that I write to my congressman, and every day I come up with a new argument why we should uncap the House. So I try to mix it up. There's a lot of reasons.
I'll say once again, we're going to be at, as a group, we're going to be at Principles First later this month. I'm really looking forward to that. I've met Walter before. I've never met Jeff in person, so this will be our opportunity to shake hands and break bread and all that kind of jazz. And I'm looking forward to that.
Now, Jeff's 7 foot tall, so you're gonna be in for a surprise when you see him.
Well, then that'll be unusual for me to have to look up at somebody because I'm 6'4".
Oh, are you? It's always funny, like when you never meet somebody in person after years, and like, oh, okay, that's how tall you are. Okay.
Yeah, I'm much closer to Madison's height than I am to Washington's height. So
Actually, I think I'm 6'3" now. I was 6'4" once upon a time, but like most people, I'm shrinking as I age.
Yeah, we shrink. Yep.
Yeah, so last words for me is, come help us, right? We need representatives in our community running these grassroots chapters. You can sign up on our website, www.y435.org. Come out to Principles First, see us, hear us, spread the word, talk to your neighbors, your friends, your family. Call and email your representative, like Beatmaster Beat, Mr. Beat is doing every single day until you get a response.
And your senators, because the senators are going to have to be a part of this deal too. The House can't do a legislation by themselves, so call your senators.
Absolutely. There is a form letter on our website, www.y435.org, where you can copy and paste if you got an email address, right? Otherwise, you got to fill out their form. It's a little bit less characters, but I'll put something up on the website there for you as well. If they're going to send you canned response, there's nothing to say you can't send them a canned first letter, right? Like, just sign our declaration. 14 signers today alone. I absolutely love it. Let's get those numbers up so when we email our representative, we can say we've had X thousands of people support this. You need to pay attention. So, and one other shout out real quick. Next week, our guest will be Yuval Levin from AEI. So Yuval Levin is somebody that has been like a leader on this issue of uncapping the House. It's written about in that book right there. I've taken a lot of what do they call that when you're like inspiration from Yuval, the way that he writes about government, the way that he writes about building a movement, and instead of going low, you go high, right? You follow the rules, you build institutions, you do things that you're supposed to do to make the world a better place because you believe that the world is a good place and deserves a spot for it to be good. So it's gonna be really exciting to have him on the show at a special time next week at 11 a.m. on Monday, February 9th. So make sure you set your calendars. You can set a reminder on X. And what was I going to say? There was something else there. Man, I lost my train of thought, guys.
God bless America.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Oh, I know what it is. Yuval Levin is famously not on X. He doesn't have an X handle. A lot of the people I trend with in the conservative kind of sphere, they talk about that he's not on X. We're going to get Yuval Levin on X, okay? Because he's going to be live on X. He doesn't have a handle. So for all those out there who are on X that are like, Yuval Levin's not on X, he will be on X for a brief amount of time on the No Cap handle, February 9th at 11 a.m. So make sure you tune in. Until next week, peace, love, and representation.
Representation. Ciao.